There we go. That's sound. There we go. That's sound. All right. So that's. Thank you all for being patient with that. That was a new one. I don't know why my settings just magically didn't want to work as they always work, but there we are. So we got one of our moderators hanging out today with us, HSBP. So watch yourself. We've got Kenny. Welcome in. We've got Mark. We've got Riss. We've got Robert. Svenja. It's good to be here with all of you. So we've got a lot lined up today. We've got me showing off some of my flute collection, as one person recommended I should do for a live stream. So I have done that, and well, I will have done that very soon. And then we have a bunch of questions, and some really great questions this time. I feel like the only way that this live stream quality is going to increase is by the questions ability, or the basically the questions quality also increase too. And I can tell you for an absolute fact, they are increasing. Okay, so one of the questions I had right from the start was, which one of your flutes is your favorite flute? And that's like picking your favorite child. It's obviously the first one. And so, the ones I use the most are these two. These are the two flutes that I use the most in my daily activities. Okay, so this is my Jinashi 1.8 by Yozan with makie and lacquer work done by Nick Belando, and it's a gorgeous flute. I mean, it's just fantastic. You can. This is the same flute that was used in all of the Jinashi series videos, and I use it in almost all of the membership videos on YouTube. So all those things, when you do the Shoden trial, the Chuden, all that stuff, all of that is on this flute. And then my main performance stick is the other 1.8 Giadi Yozan that I use. And so these are probably my two favorite ones because I use them so much. And then as for the long ones, I absolutely love this 3.0 that's by Yozan. So this was a custom build. I found the bamboo for Yozan to use. It's a size, I think it's a size 12, something like that, for the cap size. And just a monster of a flute. And it has also the lacquer work on this is done by Nick Belando. It's got a nice gold bottom here. So this is one of my really beloved flutes as well, because I also used it for my first CD and my second CD. The first CD, all tracks are done on the 3.0, which is this CD here. So if you haven't heard this yet, this is Taidu Shakuhachi number Honkyoku 1. Which is available for streaming on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube streams, all of the stuff there. So everything you can find online. But that, if you want to hear what that flute sounds, high definition audio, that would be the one. Welcome in, SYD. Good to have you here. So those are my favorite instruments, those three. And we'll as we go on, I'll showcase other flutes as we answer questions. And so I'm actually getting a chance to showcase two of my other flutes right now, because we are going to look at different inserts really quickly. So, does ivory, water buffalo horn, or plastic make a difference with the utaguchi and the sound specifically? So here I have two of my other flutes, which is my 2.6 Jinashi flute and my 1.6. And you'll see that the top of the Jinashi flute has an ivory insert, and then the 1.6 has the black water buffalo. Now, if there was no lacquer behind it, there would be a bigger difference. But in general, not so much. I would say that because the black water buffalo horn is harder material, then it would technically have a little bit of a sharper sound than the ivory would. But the main thing that's going to make sound differences on flutes are going to be the bore shape and the width, like how deep the utaguchi is cut, rather than the actual type of material that's being used. So that's what I would say. Um, let's see here. Next one. How much do you practice a day? I should be asking all my students this. It's like, how much do you guys practice a day? Not enough. So I'll be honest with my practice schedule. I actually don't practice that much because most of my time is spent teaching and then, doing household chores that need to get done, cleaning the studio, making food and taking care of the babies and stuff like that. So my time gets, I don't get much time to do that kind of stuff that I would like to. I probably get about 30 minutes of serious practice a day. But on top of that, I get 4 to 8 hours of teaching each day. So I teach Monday through Fridays, and 2 of the days I get 4 hours of teaching, and the other 3 days I get 8 hours of teaching. And so I have a lot of playing that happens, and that playing keeps my overall level really high. So then the 30 minutes of practice I get every single day helps me develop on a piece that I'm working on. Before a concert, I put in about an hour every single day prior to the event by 1 week. So every single day for a week, 1 week before the event that I'm going to play. So starting today, actually, when I get back, because I have to go to the DMV. Oh my gosh, I have to go to the DMV today in Japan. If there was a hell, that is it. It's the DMV. Oh man. And I remember one of my friends who's a pastor. I had asked him, "Is it possible to be Christian in a DMV?" And he goes, "Nope, impossible. You're going straight to hell right there." It is. Oh, and it's worse in Japan. I have to watch a 2-hour video on traffic safety before they can renew my license. But anyways, that's kind of my my practice schedule. It's very limited. It's only about 30 minutes a day. But then towards an event, when I have something bigger, I put an hour in every single day. Okay, what is my concert ritual? So what I do before a concert. You may not believe it, but I don't eat before concerts. So if the concert's in the evening, or the evening of that day, I don't eat the entire day. I don't drink coffee on concert days. I only drink tea. And then I do extreme amount of stretching the day before. So I'll do about 45 minutes of really intense yoga and stretching where I even wake up the next day a little bit sore. So that is my concert ritual. When I was at the World Flute Festival in Wisconsin at Eau Claire, I went on right before Greg Patillo, who's the flute beatbox guy, and so he's about ready to walk on stage, and I'm doing my stretching, and he turns around the corner and he goes, "Let's get it," and he walks in, "Let's go," walks into the stage, and his voice echoes in the concert hall a little bit of him going, "Let's go." But yeah, that's one of the things I do is I do a lot of stretching. And so Riss is asking, why don't I eat before concerts? And the reason why is because I actually feel uncomfortable when I have a lot of food in my stomach, and I'm trying to breathe in really deeply. And so that's why I don't eat before concerts. And I also find myself that when I have a lot of food in my system, I feel, like they would say in Japanese, very darui. I feel like just drained of energy, and I want to be able to, give it my all when I'm, on stage. So that's why I don't eat before my events. Okay, so now Robert asked a really important question too, and remember that we have the live stream is open here for anybody to ask questions. And before I do Robert's question, I want to show you one of my other flutes, and this is a recent commission. I actually made a video about this particular one, which is my 2.3 Yozan, and it is a flute that has just a bunch of ivory in it. All the ivory is recycled. We didn't go out and kill an elephant to make this flute, but it's just recycled ivory. There's ivory in 24 karat in the bottom. The middle joint is ivory, and the ivory and gold in the top as well. It's just a very luxury flute. I call this my retirement flute. So when I want to retire, or I need to have money to do something, this is the flute that I can sell and hopefully get myself out of a jam. one of the girls breaks a leg or something and needs a cast or something like that, that's the flute I sell to make that happen. Jokingly, of course. I don't want to sell it, obviously. Now, Robert asked this. What are the most common sizes for playing with other instruments? Okay, so this is a really good question, and this also gets into another question that comes later, which is, what sizes should we get for shakuhachis and whatnot. So, the most common sizes for playing with other instruments are the 1.8, 1.6, 2.0, 2.4. And more so than anything is 1.8 and 1.6. A large bulk of the contemporary shakuhachi music is on the 1.6. For example, as a professional shakuhachi player, if you're going to go out and do events, guaranteed one of the things that you're most likely going to play a lot is Haru no Umi, so the sea in spring. You will play that piece a lot, and that piece is on a 1.6. Now, that doesn't mean you can't play it on a 1.8, but in general, it's on a 1.6. All of the stuff that you're going to do with koto, for the most part, is going to be on a 1.6 or a 1.8. All sankyoku, 1.8. You can do different tunings with it and put it on a 1.7 or a 1.9. That's totally possible. It's, the koto players can shift, but in general, it's 1.8. Some of the other contemporary pieces I've played, for example, one of my favorite ones is Kaze no Uta, which is by Sawai Tadao. It's written for a 2.1 shakuhachi, but I actually have shifted it and I put it on a 2.0, and my koto player has no problem just shifting everything up a half step. It doesn't change the music or the notation for her or the approach of the instrument at all. So, there you have it. Hopefully that was helpful for that. Okay, so here Svenja has a follow-up question from the second Q&A. Oh, I like that. How about other rights on music? There are so many Fukurorando versions out there, including yours. Is it also free to use now? ? How about copying other music, playing it oneself, using it for a YouTube video, let's say? Okay, so in terms of the rights of music, so the way that composer rights works is that it's 70 years after the death of the composer. So you have to find out when Fukurorando died. So let's just look that up really quickly. We can find his dates. And let's see if we can find his dates really quickly. Now, but the thing is that that's for him. If there's a company that makes edits and continues to do the what is that called? Copyright for it, then it's a different thing. It's a different issue. But he died in 76, so his music is not under the category of public domain. Honkyoku music, though, would be under the public domain. All the Honkyoku people who wrote Honkyoku pieces are now gone, right? So you can use that freely. There's no, whatever. The audio recording stuff is a little bit different. That one, there's actually a website that tells you all of the things that are in the public domain for audio and video. So you should definitely check out that. I don't know what the website is, but if you go to Google and just type in what is going into the public domain this year, and it will pop up and it'll generate this entire list of all these movies, albums, and so on and so forth, which also includes sheet music. So there's another website off of Wikipedia, which is called imslp.org. I'll write that in the chat for everybody. Okay, imslp.org. And this is the location where you can download royalty-free, or not royalty-free, music, sheet music that is no longer under copyright. So it's a great resource for those who want to practice sight reading, or if you're looking for a score and you're trying to find something that you want to play. If it's anything prior to 1940, like the composer's death of being 1940, it's going to be in there, even up until sometimes into 1950s as well. But yeah, copyright's a weird thing because sometimes the copyright holder can change and then they make edits to it and then it extends off and so on and so forth. SYD has a quick question about 1.6. Is there a specific scale or it'd be still the same as other size shakuhachi on a 1.8? So Okay, so the 1.8 is D, F, G, A, C, rolled suit H, E, D. I guess for other sizes, it should be the same. Yes. Okay, so now I get a chance to play my 1.6 for you and my 1.8 for you. Okay, so as we have the 1.8, we have rolled suit H, E, D, do. Right? D, F, G, A, C, D. And when we go and we move over to the 1.6, everything's going to shift up a whole step. So instead of that first note being a D, it's going to be an E, and then the next note after that's going to be a G, and then instead of a G, it will be an A, and so on and so forth. So you get... So it just moves everything up a whole step. It's just like in Western flute, you have piccolo, flute, alto flute, bass flute, contrabass flute. The fingerings, from what I understand, are the same. And so you're just basically shifting around. Clarinet is the same way too. They have E flat clarinet, B flat clarinet, A clarinet, bass clarinet, and so on and so forth. So, but that's a really good question. So all the notes are the same, they just shift. So, yep, up the scale. So up the scale, you'll go on the E flute or the 1.6. It goes E, G, A, and then B, and then D, and then E. Like that. Okay. Good question. Very, very good question. All right. Plus, from my comment, best strategy and exercise to fix back habit current pain. Just adjust a little bit. Okay, got it. That was a comment for something else. What should be? This is also from Svenja. What should be mandatory reading for shakuhachi players at what level? Oh. I'm going to say that people should visit Torsten's website. And Torsten's website for the aesthetic shakuhachi, I think, is great for people who want to learn more about the history of it. As far as like reading materials that are outside of like, necessarily about shakuhachi things, I would say read things that are inspiring to you, right? Like, read things for inspiration that can really motivate you to practice more. And that's what I would recommend, because that's at all levels and everything. And there are probably like books that have little things to do with shakuhachi that are out there in English. So a little Google search, which is about that, and then just read and peruse. So HSBP, my fellow moderator, asked rolled sude, etc. are just the names of the fingerings and are not absolute pitches, right? Correct. So, for example, if I take my 1.6 and I play roll, that's roll, but it's an E. If I move over to my 2.0, I haven't shown this flute yet. This is actually the first flute I bought from Yozan. And I play this row, same fingering, just a different pitch. So, yeah, now that I have this out, this is the first flute that I bought from Yozan almost 10 years ago. No, more than 10 years ago. It's been 11 years since I bought this flute. And I've loved it and used it ever since. Probably never for sale. It's too much sentimental value on this one, being the first flute I picked up from him. So there you have it. All right. Svenja has an indirect question from one of her students, actually. And how to get used to the different styles of music, how to get used to the Japanese scales and the freedom when playing honkyoku. Okay, so the best way to get really used to scales and this sort of like, okay, you want to get used to the different scales of Japan, you want to get used to Japanese music and how it sounds and feels, all right? The best thing that you can do is just listen. Make a playlist on YouTube of a variety of different players with the different schools and different honkyoku and so on and so forth. That is the best way to develop an ear for it, because what comes in your ears is what's going to come out of your playing. That would be the best thing too, because there's also like pitch differences and stuff. Like, so for example, like when we play Honshirabe or Choshi, and we play that Tsude, the next note is not an A flat in the way that we would think of it in a Western scale. It's not. It's a quarter tone flat. And the way to get used to that sound is by hearing it. Not just trying to, look at a drone or a metronome or a tuning app or something like that and then trying to squeeze your way into a quarter tone. That won't work. I mean, it will over time, but it's sort of a slow and like unnatural way of doing it. But rather, if you hear it and you live it and you're breathing that music, then it will come more naturally. You'll naturally go to that note and sink in to that ooh. So that's what I would do. I would just listen to as much music as you possibly can. We've got another really good question from SYD here, hitting it up with some fantastic stuff today. He says, I wonder what's the difference between the Yozan beginner up to a professional flute. So I actually have a video about that, but I'll give you a quick answer for it right now. So, and SYD, I didn't plan him to do this, but you have set it up perfectly for us to talk about the Shakuhachi giveaway. So we are now under 1 month away from giving away one of these flutes on the membership. So for those watching right now, if you're interested in having the chance to win a flute, go down to the join button right there. Hit that join button, sign up for the membership, and on September 30th, we're giving away one of these flutes. Let's say you don't win. Don't worry about it. We're going to have another giveaway. We're going to give away another flute at the end of November. You don't win that one. Well, we're going to give another flute away at the end of January. Say you don't win that one. I'll probably keep giving away flutes. But that's the plan right now. So we just keep giving away flutes, keep supporting people to sign up for the membership and whatever. Okay, now on to the question of what's the difference between... Oh, I should tell you how you win. So the the whole entire thing is done by raffle. So if you're already in the membership, you're automatically signed up for it. So you don't have to worry about, letting me know. I will know. And then we put all that stuff into all the people who are signed up for who have signed up for the membership. We put all the information in the chat GPT. The people who are on the lowest level get 1 ticket, second level 2 tickets, third level 5 tickets, fourth level 10 tickets. And ChatGPT does its little computing thing, and then boom, it pops out a name. Now let's say that name is of somebody who's already won a flute. Sorry, can't win again. But then we just hit it again, and whoever's name comes up, you win. You have a week to pick it up, and whatever. And so SYD, you're already a member. You have the membership badge, so hopefully, fingers crossed, you might win. So now, what's the difference between these pro flutes and these beginner flutes? So the first thing is going to be the quality of the bamboo, right? And so we can see here that there's just a distinct quality in just the actual bamboo aesthetically. The pro flute is just way more beautiful. Beautiful root ends. All of the nodes are very beautiful. The color is fantastic. I mean, even the beginner flute, though, it's beautiful color. The other thing, too, is the thickness of the walls of the flute. The 1.8 on the pro here is going to be a lot better. The insert for the pro flute here is ivory. The insert on the beginner flute here is plastic. But that's not necessarily the biggest issue for people. The biggest issue is, okay, well, what about the tone? So here's the tone of the beginner flute. So it's like not bad. It's a great flute. Then you go to the pro. Much more power and much more strength to the flute. And much more depth and resonance. So that's what you're paying for, is you get a lot more quality of tone out of the flute than you would get out of the beginner flute. So that's why for me in general, when I recommend it, I don't recommend that beginners necessarily get a pro flute, because they're not going to get, that the price difference. They're not going to get it out of it right away. But if you know that you're going to be in it for the long run, then it's worthwhile, because you're going you're going to grow into the flute, and then it keeps growing and expanding and so on and so forth. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, I love to repeat myself. That's why I told him already as standing homework. Ah, yes, see? Okay. Okay. Svenny also says, except if you have one. Yeah, if you have won a flute, you can't win another one. But take part in it. Yozan's flutes are totally worth it. Yeah, and so SYD, he says, so it goes with the specific details, right? Correct. It goes with the specific details. So there you have it. It's really just a... it's more for playing and even on the aesthetic side. So it's all around, right? You get better aesthetics, you get better tone from the instrument. I find it to be a lot easier to play. Many of my students who have picked up my flute, they like say, it's like, wow, it's like butter, just playing so smooth. Actually, HSBP has played my flute, and so has Svenja. So if you guys want to write in the comments what you thought about when you played my flute. Speaking of, HSBP here writes a question onto the Discord. He says, to piggyback on Svenja's question, when playing Honkyoku, how do you know when to ornament and how much? All the easy questions today. Okay, so ornamentation. This is part of the aesthetic class of Shin, Gyo, and Sol. So we have, if you think of those terminologies, it's most easiest to think of it this way. In calligraphy, you have a print, semi-cursive, and fully cursive. In music, you have non-ornamented, partially ornamented, and fully ornamented. And a lot of times, these ornamentations are just going to be things that you pick up from hearing other players. So, for example, I probably should use a different flute, right? Let's use the 2.0. So, an example of an ornamentation might be like a double tap. So let's go back to Choshi, for example, right? And you have that, and you start here, right? That little extra bit, that's an ornamentation. And so how do you know when to do it? Well, it basically what feels right. If you feel like, oh, you know what, I think that if I add in this double tap, this will actually help me express what I'm trying to express, then it becomes the right answer. Like, yes, you want to put the that double tap in there and whatever. Let's say if you want to put in more of like an expressive ikiatari, or maybe a... all those things are also types of ornamentations that you can use in the piece. Or maybe like a... And you might say to yourself, yeah, you know what, that last one, that's a little bit over the top. I don't want to get into there because now it's getting into a different category of aesthetics. It's no longer just ornamenting. I'm starting to add to the piece to where it's now changing. So that's my kind of very, we'll call it the tip of the iceberg answer for it. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay. Ollie says, I read or heard somewhere that a shakuhachi should ideally be played daily. Assuming it is kept otherwise, how often does it need to be played to be sure it stays in good condition? So this is a very tough question to answer, and I would probably refer to a maker on this one, but I'll give you my thoughts on it. And look, I would say that you should really play every single day. But let's say you can't play every single day. Is every other day, does that mean now your flute's going to break and you're never going to have it and it's going to be whatever? No, not at all. If it's really well kept, you could probably play it once a week and not experience any issues with it. But my thing would be play every single day, right? We'll just keep it at that. But I have flutes that I don't play every single day. Like, for example, I barely play my 2.6 here. And so the 2.6 is in perfect condition. However, I'm also in Japan where the relative humidity is very high. So I also don't have to worry about it cracking because the bamboo was sourced from here. So it's in its natural habitat, as it were. So there you go. A couple questions on the live stream quickly here. So, Risk, going back to the ornamentation, says, are there a lot more different ornamentation than those ones? Yes, there is a huge amount of ornamentations that you can add into the music. I have on the membership, if you go to the Chuden level, I have a series called the Technique Series, and I go over a lot of those different ornamentations and so on and so forth. SYD also talks about, speaking of flutes, so my Towari flute should be some kind of old antique perhaps. Well, I got it secondhand from the owner in my country. So Towari is not necessarily an antique flute, it's just the original way of making the flutes. So, and it's not the only way either. So there is Kyuhanwari, Towari, and Tohanwari. So Kyuhanwari is 9.5 division, Towari is 10 division, and then Juhanwari is 10.5 division. And all that is referring is the space between the holes. So you take like the length of the flute and you divide it into its 10 equal parts, and then you go to, okay, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are where the holes go, right? And if you take a Kyuhanwari, you divide the flute into 9.5 equal parts, and then you have this, or 10.5 equal parts, and so on and so forth. So that's how that measurement system works, from what I understand. But typically, it's because that's for the traditional system of tuning, not for the modern tuning, which would be closer to the Western tuning scales. So that's why the modern hole placement would work better for the things that you're doing. And so, Mark, where you want to ask about Suijo. We will definitely get to Suijo in a second. So just please 1 second, because that's a big topic. Riss also asked here, curious of the scale, is there dozens or hundreds of ornamentations? Wait, hold on. So yes. So all right. In Shakuhachi traditional classical music, there are 5 scales that are used. In terms of like within the Honkyoku world, right? There would be 5 scales, but only 3 of them are implemented primarily. I'm speaking in generalizations. Every single point could go on and be its entire video. So I'm trying to give you one point without having it to be spiraling off into like 10,000 different areas. Different scales and different modes, or so different modes that you're going to be in, are going to be easier to place certain types of ornamentations. So if you're in one mode, Suriage might work a lot better than, let's say, in another mode, right? So it's a very complicated question. But basically, I would say there are limitless amount of ornamentation because of your creativity. But classical ornamentations, what you would find in certain sects of shakuhachi playing, there will be like a large, like two big handfuls of ornamentation that they use a lot in their music. Okay? Okay. Let's see here. That was an answer to the question there. Okay, this is also from Ollie. What would make a best second flute? Quality upgrade or size, and when? Now, this is a very, very important question. So, Riz, by the way, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and you're welcome for the answer for the question. So, it depends on what you want to get out of it, Ollie. So, if you're saying like, okay, look, I'm really wanting to just improve my general overall tone and playing ability, and I'm really wanting to grow, then I would say upgrade and get yourself a really, really nice flute. And I would say after a couple years of playing, let's say if you had a beginner flute, I would then move up after a year or 2 years, depending on your progress. Let's say if you're just wanting something different, and you're wanting, or like let's say you want to develop your row sound, then I would say get a longer flute. If you're wanting to really get into Honkyoku more, I would say get a longer flute. If you're wanting to get into contemporary music, I would say get a 1.6. So it really depends on this. But this goes back to that question of what is the most common flute that you would use with other instruments, because that answer is actually the same answer for this question, 1.6, 1.8, 2.4, or 2.0, 2.4. And 2.4 can also be 2.3. There's a difference between the pitch and the length. So in in Kansai, they call this a 2.3. In Kanto, they call this a 2.4. So the 2.4 is the measurement, the length, the actual physical length of the flute. The 2.3 is the name of the pitch of the flute, right? So that would be an A flute. All right. But anyways, I would recommend, if you're wanting to go down the Hongyoku route and really do that, and you want to develop your row, get yourself a 2.3, 2.4. If you're wanting to do a lot of contemporary music, do a 1.6. And if you're just wanting to get a better sound in general and you want to, grow with the flute, upgrade your current 1.8. Those would be my recommendations. Thank you for all. We have 28 people watching right now. I'm really happy to have all of you here. Please feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat. Also, in other news, the channel has really blossomed recently, and we have now over 17,000 subscribers. So the fact that there's 17,700 and some odd people who are interested in the shakuhachi is weird. I mean, it's really cool. I love that. So hopefully they all start, picking up shakuhachi, and everybody finds a teacher and starts learning, and the shakuhachi community can grow. Would really love to see that. The more people playing shakuhachi, I think the world would be a better place with a little bit more shakuhachi, and of course with a little bit more music. Okay, let's see here. Going on. Okay, so Mr. Watermelon, who is a new, a recent subscriber to the membership on the Tairyu Shakuhachi channel. He says, "Dear Tairyu, time permitting," this is very good. Please, could you elaborate on the spiritual aspects of the shakuhachi you are aware of? For example, I heard you describe in a previous video clip how the 4 front holes represent the 4 seasons. I once read that the 1.8 is traditionally 54.54 centimeters in length. In mysticism numerology, the number 9 represents consciousness. There are a lot of number 9s in regards to traditional 1.8. I find this fascinating. Thank you for everyone involved in the live streams. I'm looking forward to the presentation and everyone's question. And thank you for any help with this question. Take it easy. So we got an introduction, we've got a polite request, and a closing sentence. This is a fantastic format for a question. Thank you very much, Mr. Watermelon. Okay, so spiritual aspects of shakuhachi. So the one thing too is that when we usually say spiritual, what we're actually referring to is Western spirituality, which is a recent thing. That is nowhere near or related to shakuhachi whatsoever. What would be related, though, is the shugendo or shugyo aspect of it, which is training in search of knowledge. So, for example, I think the thing when you're saying in terms of spiritual things and keeping it in the context of this is a new Western idea, okay, blah, 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 all that stuff. The best thing that you can do with your shakuhachi is go outside and play it. That is what I recommend to everybody, and just go with that. Yes, it is true that there are old documents that have talked about the 4 seasons and all these things, and they're relating it to some of the ancient concepts in terms of ideas that are found in both Buddhism and Neo-Confucianism, and especially Taoism. A lot of the things that you'll find in shakuhachi are going to be actually related to non-dualism. So, for example, the light and dark, In-Yo, the name of Myowanji, for example, the school of bright and dark, or light and dark. Medi and Kari, being up in the Medi position is the dark position, and when you're in Kari, it is the light position. So the non-dualism you'll find a lot there. Now, on the second part of this, 1.8 and 54, you're talking about in mysticism with numerology. The thing is with, yeah, I think the 1.8 maybe you might have well, actually you wouldn't, because the idea of 9 here would be what is that called? An anachronism, or it'd be anachronistic to use that, because we're talking about 2 separate parts of the world, which this particular concept wasn't present. A more important number would be like the number 8, in Japan, or like for example, number 4 has a lot of extreme meaning, as it's also meaning of death. 3 is a really important number, but I don't think that 9 would be one that comes to mind. I'm not an expert in this area of talking about this sort of mysticism and numerology. I've seen a little bit of stuff on Kabbalah, but I'm not I haven't really read it, and nor am I really interested in it either. But I do think it's a little bit of an anachronism to use the 54.54 centimeters, because they weren't measuring that way. They were measuring in shaku and sun. So it'd be 1 shaku and 8 sun. And I guess you could say, yeah, you have 1 shaku and 8 sun, and if you put those two together, it's 9, but they're different qualities. I think you'd have more of an argument to say all of them are 9 sun or something like that. But there's nothing like that I'm aware of. So there you have it. Professor HSBP gives Mr. Watermelon an A+ on his compositional skills. I agree. It's a very, very nicely worded question here. Okay, so my wife is asking questions. There we go. So I want to show you a couple other flutes here too. I'm going to show 2 more, and then we'll take a couple other questions as well. So I have 2 really unique flutes here, and we're going to go with this black one here first, because this also is related to a course that my friend and I are teaching. So this is the Hitoyogiri, and this is actually a 3D resin printed flute with gold makie on the top here. So this is real 24 karat gold, which reads "The Monkey Cries" or "The Crying Monkey." And this is the predecessor to this flute, which is the Edo era shakuhachi, which is the predecessor to this flute, which is the modern era shakuhachi. And so this flute has a much condensed range. It's only about 1.5 octaves. I have the G as well, or the D in the upper register. It's a very high pitched note and stuff, but if you play it in its proper modes, it sounds like that, right? And so you get the Hitoyogiri. My friend and I are teaching a class on this, so if you're interested, you can go to my website, shawnheadmusic.com, and look at the Hitoyogiri page, and you can learn a little bit more about this flute. Now, the other flute that I wanted to show you is my Edo 1.7, which, actually, it's a 1.6 in length, but the pitch is an E flat. It's a very nice flute. Really beautiful, mellow, tone-colored sound. But yeah, this is another really beautiful flute. And this is in the Towari tuning, so if I were just to play it straight, just to give you an example, there's that note that's really sharp, so you'd have to adjust that. So that's how that, how that works out. Thank you very much, HSBP, for sharing that link. Really appreciate that. Should be a full-time job, actually, sharing all the links when I mention something. At any rate, so those are actually all my flutes that I wanted to showcase today. I didn't tell you what the characters read on this one, the 1.8. So the characters on this top flute here is the crying crane. So you have crane and then cries. So that's one of the things I really like is the imagery of cranes in general. And I even wrote a children's book about cranes and stuff as well. So the children's book is available for purchase on Amazon.com. So you should check that out as well. And let's see here. So we have 15 minutes, and So if you have any other questions on shakuhachi, we can get into those next things too. Meanwhile, while we wait for the next set of questions to proliferate, whatever the word is. I can't speak English. I want to tell you guys about the membership option here. So when you join the Taidu membership, you have a chance to win one of these beautiful shakuhachis coming up. So our next giveaway is at the end of September. So at the end of September, on the 30th, that Monday, we will be giving away one of these 4 flutes, and then we're going to do another one in November, another one in January, and then some other stuff too. I'm thinking on what I want to do with the 4th flute. So I haven't decided if we're just going to do another standard giveaway or if I'm going to do something a little bit more special. Now that we're getting really close to 20,000, wink, wink, the gun, and all that kind of stuff. So how you have a chance to win this flute is that you join the membership. And so that is right here, I believe. I think I hit it right. It's right here. There's a little join button. And when you hit that join button, a bunch of options will pop up. And on those options, you will have like Shoden Trial, Shoden, Chuden, Okuden. And each of those have all these videos that go along with them. So there's lesson content. So it's not like you're just paying money to maybe win a flute. There is like additional lesson content there. And with that lesson, if you're in the first level, you get 1 raffle ticket to winning this flute. If you get the next level, you get 2. And if you get to the 3rd level, there's 5. And then the 4th level, you get 10 tickets. All of those get taken, and then we put it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT will separate everybody by their name and by their rank for whatever membership. How long you've been in doesn't matter. And then GPT will take all of that information and run a raffle for us, and then randomly pick somebody based on whatever the statistics and stuff that it's doing. But yes, so that's how we pick that, and that will be at the last Monday of September, the last Monday of October, and then the last Monday of January, all at 11 a.m. So be sure to join the membership and so on. We've got a lot of members who are actually in this top chat right now, and with, for example, Svenja is no longer allowed to win a flute because she was actually one of the people who won one of the flutes in a previous part. And so, Mark, I will get to Suijo 1 second because I want to save it for the last thing. There's a reason why I'm putting it at the end, because it's like super meta, meaning metaphysical. Okay, and so anyways, that's all of the flute giveaways. So be sure to sign up for that. And if you haven't already, like this video. And if you're not subscribed, do subscribe. And if you have if you're interested in the membership, also sign up for the membership as well. So let's talk now about Suijo. So what is Suijo? So now Mark had mentioned in his comment on the other thing here. Let me just pull that up really quickly because I want to read his comment in the chat here, which he talks about Suijo. Where is that thing? So he had mentioned basically that he's trying to look it up and trying to find a definition for it online, or try to find it in a dictionary. And the thing is, you'll never find it because it's not a word that's in the common Japanese vernacular. It's a word that was made up by Watazumi. And so Watazumi used to call his shakuhachis Suijo Dogu. So concentrated breathing training device. Okay? So that is the essence of it, right? So the name or the word Suijo, sui means to blow an instrument. Jo means is the word sadameru, which means to determine something. It also can be as a part of education and trying to understand. So Watazumi would say, in order to understand the breath and to get a deeper understanding of the way that one uses breath, you would have to use the natural piece of bamboo. So when you use a piece of bamboo like this, he'll say that you would understand the natural world. So, basically, a simple piece of bamboo that you get out of a bamboo forest, you're getting this this connection with nature. Another thing too is that he would say that with suijo, it's with longer flutes, and the idea is that you can put a lot of breath in it, and you get like barely any sound, right? So long flutes with no lacquer, no nothing on the inside, and this is something where you're not worried about the sound nor its quality. You're not worried about good or bad. What you get then is you get freedom inside the sound, and you're able to freely change that sound to make it stronger or softer, and so on. So it's very experiential in this sense. Okay, so you can do suijo with pieces. And actually, interestingly enough, if you listen to Watazumi and his basic philosophy, that CD, what he'll say is, he says, "Nani nani o suijo suru desu," or "suijo shimasu," "suijo itashimasu," which is meaning that I'm now going to suijo this piece. He doesn't say I'm going to perform this piece. He doesn't say I'm going to blow this piece. He doesn't say I'm going to interpret this piece. He says I'm going to concentrate and breathe this piece. So now Watazumi would say you have to put everything in it. Okay, you have to put all of your body, all of your essence, all of your being, all of your life force, in order to put that into the piece, right? And that's what he says that this bamboo requires. Okay, so that's basically the essence of it. So the concept of concentrated breathing, or suijo, that Watazumi is mentioning, especially in the way of Watazumi, he is saying that it's a philosophy that's basically beyond just music. It's supposed to be this holistic approach to life, health, self-awareness, and it's rooted in the essence of understanding one's breath and how that the energy is used, and so on and so forth. So the idea is that it's the emphasis of suijo is the importance of conscious breathing over unconscious. So when we unconsciously breathe, typically what we do is we lightly breathe into the chest like this, right? And the air never really goes down into the bottom of the lungs, filling up and expanding and so on. I'll give you the characters later, the characters of suijo, okay? And so the other thing is that, so you're only breathing here, right? But that doesn't allow you to get a distinction between the different types of breath that you have. So you have rough breathing, strong breathing, soft breathing, weak breathing, and deep breathing versus shallow breathing. And this is not like completely like separated from, like, no one else has done this. If you really want to learn a lot about breath and breath control in English, I recommend looking up Wim Hof. If you don't know who Wim Hof, or the Wim Hof method, if you're not aware of it, he's the Iceman, the guy who can go into, like, basically in sub-zero temperatures, hangs out in salt water, and then is for some reason not able to get hypothermia. He's doing it through breath control. So that's where this comes in. Now, the thing is with Watazumi is he says that this particular practice of breathing, and so does Wim Hof, by the way, practicing of suijo is accessible to anybody, right? It's anybody can do it and control and focus on their breath, and it's more than just playing music. It's to understand yourself, to cultivate a practice, to focus around the breath, and a lot of religious groups and so on, use breathing as a way of practice, right? So there's that. Now, I think the biggest thing would be when Watazumi talks about nobasu, which is lengthening, and this encourages people to expand beyond the isolated movements and what you're comfortable with. When you really deep breathe in deep, and you harmonize with your heartbeat, or you harmonize with your lungs and the cadence of your breath, and so on and so forth. A lot really happens with it. So that's the basic like introduction to Suijo and what it is. So the characters of Suijo are Sui, which means to blow, and then Sadameru, or Jo, which means concentrated or study or determined. Or determining would be the right better. So concentrate, to study, or to determining one's breath. So that's the essence of it all. Okay, so we are just about ready to approach that 1 hour mark. I want to thank everybody who joined the live stream today. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe, the like button, all that good stuff. Consider joining the membership. And just as a quick little update for how many subscribers that we are at as of this video, we have a live counter that's up, and we have 17,791 subscribers, working our way up to 18K, and hopefully going to pass 20K by the end of this year. Again, thank you all so much for watching. We'll do another live stream next week. Please stay tuned for that, and blow roll for 10. I'll see you guys next time.